მაქვს პატივი რომ წარმოგიდგინოთ ჩვენი keynote speaker-ი Alistair Cockburn-ი. დიდი მადლობა მას რომ დაგვთანხმდა და შემოგვიერთდა დღეს და დიდი მადლობა TBC-ს რომ შეგვაძლებინა დღეს ეს ძალიან მნიშვნელოვანი სტუმარი ყოფილიყო სპიკერად დღევანდელ შეხვედრაზე. დიდი მადლობა და ტაშით შევეგებოთ Alistair-ს. Alistair, warm welcome. So we are waiting for you.
Thank
you.
You
can join us.
Good.
Thank you so much for supporting us in this initiative.
I am really happy to be here and meet the people of Georgia. So I have to be very careful, as you know, because Georgia is a state in the US. So when I tell people I'm giving a talk in Georgia, I always have to say Tbilisi, Georgia, the country, so that they are sure. Anyway, so I should start then, I guess. Very briefly, what I'm going to show you today is what we're doing currently in the world of Agile. And I say currently because I started literally 30 years ago in 1991 and used the first sort of Agile techniques on a project in 1994. Wrote my first book about this about the time that we were writing the Agile Manifesto in 2001. That's 22 years ago, almost 23 years ago. And we wrote the Agile Manifesto to summarize what we had been doing in the previous 10 years, in the previous decade. So for those of us who wrote it, it was a summary of what we had learned in the previous time period. And for everybody else, sort of like history starts in 2001, but for us, we had 10 years of experience. Then, of course, as you know, the industry went wild with extreme programming, with Scrum, eventually with SAFe, with Kanban, with all these things. And in 2015, I decided that everything had become too complicated again. And I simplified everything. So now with 25 years of experience, I simplified everything to just 4 words. And the people who were doing the work in the 90s and the early 2000s agree that these 4 words are all you really need. And I'll go through those 4 words. There are some new concepts for you maybe in this talk and some things that you in principle know but maybe didn't pay attention to. So with that, I'm going to see if I can share my screen and give the talk. So share the screen. Here we go. And then we'll go here. And then I have to take a moment, always and hide the controls and shrink all the things down that otherwise block my slides that I want to talk. So this is called the heart of Agile. This is the essence. It has these 4 words only: collaborate, deliver, reflect, improve. You collaborate to deliver, you reflect to improve. And that's all you need to know, and I will go through that. Assuming I can make my computer work right. So I'm going to go back now. I used to define Agile according to the Agile Manifesto because that's what we meant when we wrote it. But by now, the Agile Manifesto is, it's 22 years old, and it's very tied to software. And we need to get these ideas out of software into places where everybody can make use of them. So I went back to the dictionary, and the dictionary just says, Agile is the ability to move and change direction quickly and with ease. And so that's all I need anymore. I don't need anything more than this. So I will use that as my operating definition of Agile. We knew that that's what Agile meant at the time, the ability to move and change direction quickly and with ease. Now, why do we care about that? Because there's this acronym in English, people say VUCA, V-U-C-A. It means volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. The world is so uncertain, ambiguous, and moving so fast these days that it is impossible to make a 2-year plan for any project that you have of any variety. Even 6 months is quite a long time because things change so fast. Because of this, every company, every team, every industry, and every person has to develop the ability to move and change directions quickly and with ease. That is to say, we need everybody on the entire planet to develop this ability. So it's not become, I am agile or I'm not agile. You have this ability more or less, and we want it to be more. So we need now to get everybody in the world, every company, every person, to develop some skills toward this. So that's why we care. The problem that we need to solve is that agile frameworks are complicated. They don't apply widely. They're tied to software. They're full of jargon. They're just too complicated. So we need something that is simpler, more general, and more powerful for people to enter in with. Excuse me. It turns out that with these 4 words, then we focus only on the most basic mechanisms, and it's really all you need. Think about this. To the extent that your team collaborates better, your team, your family, your city, your country, your anything, to the extent that you collaborate better, things will go better. To the extent that you collaborate worse, things will go worse. That's collaborate. And it seems so obvious, but people don't put time and money on that. And so my motivation is to get you to put time and money on increasing the quality of collaboration. The second is to deliver. You deliver for 2 things: to get value, if it's money or impact or whatever you want, and to get information, because the world is changing so fast that you don't know what the world is like. You have to touch the world in some fashion. Even if it's not a full delivery, you have to touch the world and see how the world is compared to how you thought it was. Then you need to just take a moment, breathe, get back together, think about what you really want, think about what's been happening, reflect, and then you can decide, and you'll improve either the quality of the collaboration or the quality of the delivery. You may actually improve the quality of the way you reflect, and you may improve the way that you improve. So these are the basics, and you just get better and better and better at these things, and things will go better for you. So this is actually much bigger than Agile. This is literally how to do better teamwork, how to develop and deliver things in teams. But we tie it back to the word Agile because that's where we're coming from. And it's a nice word, quite frankly, and we need it. The key thing about these 4 words is they are not in competition with any process or any framework. They don't compete with Scrum. They don't compete with SAFe. They don't compete with Kanban. They're just words. They're verbs. They're things to do. They fill the spaces inside the process in the organization. To get away from thinking of these 4 words as a process or a framework, my colleague, Sole Pinter, who's the operating out of Belgium these days, so in Europe and easy for you to contact, came up with a metaphor of a compass. She said the heart of Agile is a compass to decide in which direction to advance the conversations. So just like you don't look at a compass and go north and south and east and west, that's just a circle. You think about where you want to go, you look at your compass, and you decide in what direction to go next. So in that way, the heart of Agile is a compass to decide in which direction to advance the conversations. Inside of the collaborate sector, there are 3 big conversations to have. How do we increase trust? How do we improve our culture? What do we do about rewards for people to encourage collaboration and not individual work? Inside of deliver, there are 3 topics. The internal flow of decisions, delivering for value, of course, but also delivering to learn. Inside of Reflect, we want you to pause, check your data, but also check your emotions. And then in Improve, we can improve everything and in baby steps. What I'm going to do, I could begin with any of the four in different talks. I begin in different places. I'm going to begin today in the deliver sector because it has what is possibly a new concept for you to become familiar with that will be very important, especially when we take these ideas outside of software. The thing is that whatever we deliver into the world, and this doesn't matter if you're trying to get people to recycle, install solar power, if you're trying to change your neighborhood, if you're delivering software, if you're delivering hardware, it doesn't matter what it is you're delivering. What you deliver is the result of the decisions of your team. Even if you only deliver a press release, even if you only deliver a strategy announcement, that is the result of many people making decisions. So we think of the organization as a giant brain. It could have 10 people, it could have 100, 1,000, 10,000 people. Everybody is making decisions. We have people coming up with a new idea. People add decisions. We have decisions building on decisions. And we deliver to the world the result of all those decisions. This language of decisions allows us to take all the ideas from Agile out of software and use them in any industry at all. The problem that we have to deal with is that people make mistakes. I've seen one statistic from nuclear power plants that people make an error in decision-making about every 5 decisions. Now, it could be 10. That's fine. Nobody's going to make 20 decisions in a row without making a mistake. It may not be a flat-out mistake, but there could be something better you could have done. So imagine any initiative document, and imagine a requirements document, a strategic plan, a new product idea. There's an error in there, guaranteed, and you don't know where it is. So our 3 themes are: we want to deal with the internal flow of decisions in the organization. We want to touch the world, deliver to learn early, learn often, and then we want to deliver for early value. Let's take a look at those. So here's the odd part. Designing should not be like manufacturing. It has one thing that's very similar to manufacturing. If you say that the unit of inventory is not a work product, but it's a decision, suddenly we have people passing decisions to other people, and we have what looks remarkably like a manufacturing flow line in which decisions are flowing. And I want to illustrate this because on the left, you see those people. They could be your senior vice president. They could be somebody in the executive chain. Everybody in the organization is waiting on that person to make a decision. Who is our strategic partner? When is our announcement date? Those kinds of decisions produce no work products, but they're decisions. Everybody in the company could be stuck waiting for those people to make those decisions. So we have something that looks like a manufacturing flow line. We have a flow of decisions in a network, and because they're decisions, we need feedback on them. We need to correct them. We need to check them. So what happens in most organizations, in all the older organizations, and less frequently in the newer organizations, is there's a big pile of decisions that come from the executives, and it may be 100 pages, or it could be 300 pages, or 50 pages, full of decisions, maybe 50 decisions per page, and 300 pages is whatever that is, 1,500 decisions, right? And you have an error 1 in 5 or 1 in 10. That means you have at least 150 errors in there, and you don't know where the errors are. You can't know until you take it out to the world. So those 1,500 decisions go to a group of people. They all add their decisions. They produce, whatever, a couple of 100 pages of documents, or a couple of million lines of code, or hardware devices. They make decisions. Those, though, again, let's just say go to When products, they go to a product testing group. They test those millions of decisions. They find hundreds or thousands of errors, and they throw those errors back at the other people. Those other people are trying to deal with new requests and new decisions, and they have all these rework decisions coming back at them, and your organization looks like a great big traffic jam. This is what most organizations look like. Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, there's a world event, or your competitor makes an event, and you need to change direction, but your organization is locked up full of correcting thousands and thousands and thousands of decisions. You can't change. Now you're not agile anymore. So what we want to do is change that and and here we borrow from lean manufacturing, we borrow from Toyota, and we say, what are the smallest number of decisions that we can put into the system? What's the smallest request that the executives can make, or whoever's in charge of making initiatives? The fewest we can do to build and deploy and deliver something to the world, the fewest we can use, so we have the fewest number of changes in operation. That means that we correct errors quicker and sooner than we otherwise would, and we can change directions more easily if a big change comes. So we're trying to convert the organization from working on big batches of decisions to small batches of decisions internally. That improves the internal flow, reduces inventory, gets something out quicker, and allows the organization to change direction more easily if there's some new information that comes from the outside world. That's what we're after. That's why decisions are so important as the unit of internal inventory, as sort of the molecule of an organization. Now let's look at, that's the internal flow. Let's look at what learning looks like. So here I've got a graph, and I'm going to take a look at the graph of the normal organization does a ton of work, then they integrate it all at the end. They deliver it all to the world at the end. And it doesn't matter now if we're talking about a marketing initiative, humanitarian aid, a new product being developed, whatever. The typical thing is that people don't deliver anything. They often don't even integrate anything. So they learn a little bit while they're working, but all the learning comes at the end when it's too late. They've done all the work, they put it together, they deliver it, and either the integration fails or the delivery is a mess because they had those 10,000, 20,000 errors, assumptions, miscommunications, misunderstanding about the world that they left to the last minute, and then they have to find and fix them all at the last minute. So that's what we're trying to avoid. And this learning has to happen. So what we're going to do is to try to make frequent learning. See that little L shape? That's delivering something to another team, to the world. It could be a survey, a probe, a prototype, a trial delivery. It could be anything, but touch the world and learn. Then if we're lucky and we do this artfully, we can choose what to learn on over time, and our knowledge growth goes up like this. Okay, and then usually there's a bad surprise at the end. You know, this somehow the world always gives us a bad surprise at the end, but we're trying to minimize that by doing these probes and deliveries early. Now, there are 4 basic things that we're trying to learn about. One is, what's the business model? What will the customers buy? What will people use? What will they pay for? How will they use it? What's a better way to get them to use it? Doesn't matter what you're building. The second is all the technical aspects: security, scaling, robustness, manufacturing cost, whatever. The third happens to be my favorite. That's social learning. Did you hire the right people? Assuming you hired people who can do the job, it takes time for them to learn to work together. So there's a lot of social learning that goes on, and you still have this stair-step learning in the social dimension as well as in the technical dimension. And finally, you have to learn, how much is this going to cost? When can we have it? And you learn that in the same way in little baby steps. You learn, oh, this takes longer than we thought. Oh, that part is more complicated than we thought. Can we deliver it by, guess what? Black Friday is coming up. Black Friday is the biggest shopping day of the year. Nobody can be late for Black Friday. If you come in 10 minutes late, it's too late, right? So you have to know, can we deliver it by Black Friday? So those are the things that we're learning on. The early part of your work, it's not a phase, but the early part of your work is you're trying to learn things, and then you reduce the risk. And then later, you have better knowledge, less risk. And the good thing about this curve is that as you get higher on that curve, you could actually choose to maybe dial back on the quality. Let's say you had a real time to market pressure, you're trying to beat a competitor for something or the other. You can actually release something earlier that's not quite done because you only have the small, less important features. You have all the important things in place. Or you could choose to wait, but this is now your choice. You're not forced by the development process to do this. I'm sorry, I was just jumping ahead because this slide caught me off guard. I thought this one slide was at the very end. So I will talk to this now, and then I may come back and repeat this at the very end. When you want to get started with any of this stuff, all you have to do is to put a big X on the board and ask people to talk about what can they do to improve collaboration? What can they do to improve delivery? What can they do to improve reflection? What can they do to improve? Just ask, what are the conversations? What are the themes? And I took this picture. It looks out of focus. It is out of focus on purpose because I literally took it from Twitter. Somebody that I didn't know, David Koss, put up this picture and he said, we did this in our company. And so I didn't, obviously want to show all the things that they wrote about. So I just took a screen snapshot and let it be a little bit fuzzy. So this is what you're going to do at the end is you literally just put up an X and you say, hey, let's talk about collaboration. What's on your mind? Let's talk about delivery. What's on your mind? And people tell all the things that are bothering them and all their ideas for how to make it better. That's literally how you get started. Right, now I'm going to continue, and I may come back to this at the end. I want to talk about collaboration. So collaboration is interesting because I put up there the word trust. To the extent that people don't trust each other, they won't tell each other things and they won't collaborate. To the extent that they don't collaborate, you're going to have more errors in your system. You're going to have trouble. So this is why it's not a process. This is why it's a compass to see what conversations you need to advance. So I picked out 3. We're going to try to improve the actual collaboration itself. I'll show you the collaboration cards in just a minute. There are specific movements you can do. We're going to talk about culture. You have to talk about rewards. Are the executives given rewards that are in conflict? One executive is rewarded for, let's say, more sales. The other one for, let's say, less defects. These two are in conflict. They have to work together. So adjusting the rewards, adjusting the team structures, adjusting the employee evaluations, the annual evaluations. These rewards become very important over a longer term. People are willing to be generous for a short period of time, but at the end of the year, if their evaluations are based off of individual performance, they'll protect their individual performance. So rewards becomes a major topic. Politics, silos, leadership. Okay, so those are very rich set of topics underneath the chapter heading of collaborate. Now, I did a study back in around 2006 or 2008, what actually causes people to collaborate better. And I wrote a paper, and then I made a deck of cards called the collaboration cards. And if you're in Europe, we can get you some via Sole, who's my business partner. And there are five suits or five main themes. The first is to lift others, make them feel better. Second, get results. Third, increase safety. Fourth, add energy. And fifth, lift yourself. So the cards look like this, just to give you a sample. To lift others, my favorite card is challenge but adopt. It is uplifting when someone disagrees with you at first, but then sees and adopts your view. Do this for someone else. Look to adopt their ideas where possible so they know where they are heard and their ideas valued. So you do things like that, and then people feel more important. They feel like they can contribute. This one matches with the yellow one. Increase safety, show you won't hurt, add humor, all kinds of things to increase the personal safety inside the group. Then you go to the blue one, you have to get results. Getting results, I have read from the sociologists, is the thing that binds teams together the most. When you get even some small result, already the collaboration gets better. Then you want the red one, add energy. You might challenge. You might sit up straighter. You might pay more attention. You might ask more questions. And finally, I like this one. Someone added this, and I had to include it. Not just lifting others, but lift yourself. Find your center. When you stand in your center, you cannot be moved. You are calm and confident. Find that place in you. Act from there. Your contribution will be easier and have more power. So those are collaboration at the most elementary level. But I want to jump to another topic. And this now gets into organizations and organizational psychology. So this is a lovely diagram. It was a 2x2 matrix from Neil Nicolaisen, a wonderful CIO, COO, and ran many companies. And he ended up drawing this. And he said, most organizations have low trust and a low sense of ownership. They run in command and control mode, telling people what to do. When you tell people what to do, they don't get to own their own work. What we're after is high energy and innovation. To get there, you have to have high trust and high ownership. You don't want to fall into the pit of apathy or conflict, which are the two on the other diagonal. So I'm going to talk about this with a thing called Theory X and Theory Y, autocratic leadership and guest leadership. Here's Theory X and Theory Y. In the 1970s, a professor at, I think, MIT, documented a change in management style that he was seeing already in the 70s. He called them Theory X and Theory Y. Theory X is a negative model. Theory X is where management believes workers are lazy and stupid. And I kid you not, that used to be in the literature. That you had to assume workers were lazy and stupid. You had to force them to do stuff. You had to punish them. You had to tell them what to do stuff. That's a force or push or controlling model. Now, it might work as you're shoveling coal and your boss comes up to you and yells at you, faster, faster, like that. And you go, ah, and then you have adrenaline and you move fast and you move faster. It doesn't work with mental work. You're trying to make a decision, you're doing, it doesn't matter, a financial spreadsheet, a UI design, some kind of strategy, whatever it could be. Your boss comes up behind you and goes, faster, faster. Do you go faster? No, you break down, you lose your track of what you're doing. And if this happens 2 or 3 times a day, then you just basically stop work. So mental work gets worse under stress. We need to keep the thinking environment free of stress. So this professor documented, he called this Theory Y. He was noticing it happening already. He said, assume that workers are motivated. In this case, management will share their direction and the workers will share their insight. So this is a choose or pull or permitting model, Theory Y. We're going to look at that in an organization. If you work for a big organization, you may work for a private owner who's very greedy and focused on getting the money. Or you may work for an enlightened individual who's not that way. But if you work for a public company, Wall Street and the stockholders are absolutely unforgiving. They don't care about your workers. They apply to senior executives Theory X, force, control, dominate. But at the bottom where the workers are, we want Theory Y, choose, permission, freedom. Look at what this implies. Somewhere in the middle is a manager or a couple of managers who have to act like a sort of an umbrella protecting the people down below. Some people have called their manager a heat shield, right? It could be a shield, a heat shield, an umbrella. I call this the push to pull umbrella. This is the manager who absorbs the pressure from above, the Theory X stuff, and generates the quiet that's needed for the Theory Y stuff so that the people can think. I like that. That's a good explanation of how organizations work. So up at the top, autocratic leadership coming from stockholders in Wall Street, and down at the bottom, what I call guest leadership, where the leadership happens naturally inside the organization. All right, the last topic I want to pick up, I'll merge reflect and improve. What you want to do in the reflect part is you want to introspect. First of all, just breathe. Just take a moment, breathe, relax, stop working, let your pulse come down, right? Let the quiet part of your brain. And then talk about what do you want? Check your emotions, check your data. There's lots of data. There's too much data. You probably can't look at all your data. So look at the data, but also look at your emotions. Decide what you want. When you know what you want, then you can build on what's already working and make what I call micro improvements. Now let's take a look at this. This is the other thing that might be new to many of you there. It's a magic technique. It applies to absolutely everything, everywhere, any one person, any situation, any company, anything. And it comes from a field of psychotherapy called solution focus psychotherapy. Solution focus psychotherapy. And there's a group in England that I follow, and their company name is Brief, B-R-I-E-F. And so I follow and have adopted sort of the Brief style of solution focus, coaching. If it's not psychotherapy, it's coaching, right? And you can do this. So that goes in 4 steps, and they say, what are your best hopes? What would you actually wish for? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you now? And now you might say, it's not so good. It's a 3 or it's a 4, or it's not bad. It's a 6, but I want it up at an 8. They say, cool. Actually, even if it's a 3 or a 4, that means something's working. That means something's working. You have assets to work with, if you like. You can build on what's already, do more of what's working. So find anything that works even a little bit, even occasionally, and try doing more of that. You don't have to change. You just have to do more of those things that are working. And finally, and only finally, don't look at that number 10. Look at that little tiny delta, that little tiny triangle I drew there, and ask, how could we get from 3 to 3.5? You might easily get from 3 to 3.5, whereas it might be difficult to get from 3 to 6. So get from 3 to 3.5, 4 to 4.5, 6 to 6.5. Don't try to go more. Don't think about 10, 9, 8. Think about 4 to 4.5. And then do more things that are working. Try a few little experiments. If you get to 4.5, that's cool. Now you have more things that are working. Now you can do more of those and see if you can get to 5. So this is micro improvements. You can apply this at home. You can apply this to your exercise routine. You can apply this to learning languages. You can apply this to harmony in your family. You can apply this to harmony in your team. You can apply this to anything. This is a marvelous, marvelous technique, and we teach it in all of our classes now. So I call it the delta delta, the first big delta, the other small delta. And you can take a look online at the Brief flavor of solution focused consulting or coaching. I want you to notice as I start to wrap this up here that we're prioritizing attitudes over structure. So structure, like with the rewards, some elements of structure that are important, but the big success comes from improving people's attitudes. The difficulty is that executives can buy structures. I have $10 million or euros, give me safe, teach everybody in the company this thing. And we haven't changed anybody's attitude. We haven't changed anybody's behavior. That's problematic. So the thing is, you can buy structures, you can't buy attitudes. Attitudes take work, and that's the difficult part right there. So all of what I do, aside from a few points like the rewards, like the team structures, aside from those two, everything else is about attitudes. And that takes daily work. So prioritize attitudes over structure. Here's the punchline, and then we can open up for questions. For collaborate, increase the quality of listening. Listening is the important thing, that people listen to each other. That will indicate levels of trust, indicates levels of safety, amicability, all these good things. Deliver something small and soon. Don't wait for the big ones. Deliver something small and soon. Pause. Check your data, check your emotions, decide what you like, and then improve, make small changes. So start small, keep it simple. That is the essence of what I really want you to take from this talk. And you can apply this in any industry, any initiative, any situation. So that's it. Thank you. And I'm going to stop my screen share at this point and see how that goes. We have, I think, ample time for questions.
Thank you so much for the attitude, first of all, and for all the things that you have shared with us. I'm absolutely sure that people are already using and applying the technique that you have shared with us. Where are they now? What are their wishes and what they need to get there, the baby steps at least. And here is the opportunity for you to ask questions to Alistair. We have a couple of questions in online chat now, but I would like to offer you to openly ask questions. You can raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone. Meanwhile, we do have some questions online already.
Yes. We would encourage you.
Break the ice and you guys structure your thoughts, please.
Yes, so we would encourage you to not hesitate and ask questions, but in the meanwhile, we can also do from online. So here's the first question that we had online. Thanks for inspiring talk. Do these principles work in non-IT projects too? And if so, where? I think it's a common one. And did you hear it well, Alistair?
Yeah, and of course, you know, that was my entire talk. Did I not say over and over and over and over and over again? Yes, it applies in everything. It's been applied, you know, in solar projects, in political projects, in social improvement projects, family projects, church projects, hardware manufacturing, whatever. I mean, yes, that's the whole point, is these ideas have gotten out of software. You replace the word work product with the word decision. You pay attention to the quality of collaboration. You touch the world to get information and deliver value. You pause and reflect, and there you are.
Thank you. Who will be next? Yeah, please. Good evening. My name is Sabina. I'm an Agile coach from TBC Bank. Thank you very much for your presentation, for sharing so maybe simple but very important insights that are very relevant for us, for everybody. I have one question, maybe two questions in one. First, according to your very big and interesting experience, can you share with us top one lessons learned that you have that brought you some interesting experience that was a mistake and you made from mistake some benefit and learned something?
This is one. And the second, how do you see Agile in next 20 years? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, just somebody showed up here in my doorstep doing something wrong. They're delivering something to my door, and I said, please put it in the box next to the porch. And the guy is busy looking at the box next to the porch and then putting it on my porch. So I was like, but I'm with you guys. It's just that happened right at that particular moment. Yeah, I want to tell you, and I'm going to go all the way back to the 90s, because that's when I was more junior and having, more strange things happen. So I interviewed the most amazing project interview I ever did was in 1992. And I flew to Canada, and there was this project team, and they had 24 people, new technology, etc. And I knew enough that when the guy outlined for me how they were working, I said, this can't work. Like, why did I fly to Canada? These guys totally, obviously, they failed. And he said, yeah. So we actually didn't succeed in delivering anything in the first delivery. And we had a complete project failure, catastrophe, meltdown, demoralized people, etc. And I was going like, I knew that. Why did I fly here? But then he said the most interesting thing that I have ever heard. He said, we replaced 23 of the 24 programmers. We got all new training. We made new team structures. We did this, we did that, we did this. We changed everything. And we had to redevelop the first whole 4 months worth of work. And I'll tell you that my jaw was on the floor. I was like, what? I have never heard of anybody doing this before. And then they worked another 4 months and they delivered, and then they made more changes, and then they delivered, and they went, right? That was in 1992. That project has set my direction ever since. That reflect and improve, that pause, reflect and improve, came from that project. Then I was on a project in 1994, and basically the same thing happened. We had 3-month deliveries, 1 per quarter. The first one was horrible, bad code, bad morale, bad this, bad that. We stopped, we talked, we made changes. We tried like 2-3 things over a period of weeks. We changed. Okay. And then we ended up with a successful project at the end. So these two really, really bad failures at the end of 3 months and 4 months really taught me the essence of what we're doing. Now, I already knew about collaboration and delivery and stuff, but that reflect and improve would not have been in my vocabulary if I hadn't seen that project in 92 and had the same thing happen to me in the project in 93. So this is really, really super duper duper important. There you go.
Answer the question?
Pick another question.
Sorry. Yeah. So did we answer your question? How do you see Agile in next 20 years? That's
I have really, really good news for you on that one, is you can ignore everything I say, because I have no ability to predict the future. I even thought it was a bad idea to write a manifesto. So listen to me, nothing about the future. I can tell you what these
just an assumption, right?
I can tell you what these people are doing in this part of the world. I can tell you what these people are doing in this part of the world. But future, no idea. We have to wait for somebody, not me, to be really unhappy and come up with some different idea. You can't ask me, because I like my ideas, right? I like these ideas.
You do. Okay. Any other person? Right? Oh, no. Yeah, you have a question.
Thank you. My name is Irina. I'm project manager at Eber Foundation in Georgia. Thank you for this great opportunity and for your input, very great input for me. I would like to ask you, how can a leader or a manager encourage a culture of innovation and creativity in his team, what would be your advice how to approach this, how to improve or how to encourage the team members for this culture of innovation and creativity? And another question would be also connected with the continuous learning process. And I'm really interested, what's your favorite practice when you deal with continuous learning process in your practice work? Thank you.
All right. I always have trouble when there's two questions. So most of what I know comes from project stories. So I talk to somebody and they tell me something, and then I go, that's a good idea, and I pass it along to somebody else, and then they try it, and then we find out, yes, it was a good idea. So to your first question, the first thing is you need people who are a little bit curious, right? There are organizations that I go to, and nobody has a book on their desk. They're not doing any side work. They're not reading, like, it's hard to make them different people. But where I've seen success in a couple of different places is this. The boss permits people to make experiments, to do things that were not instructed. And here's the thing, the boss always says yes, yes, yes. So I was in Australia and I go to this company, and they had shifted from a kind of a waterfall style to an agile style in a pretty quick time period. And I just asked the boss, like, wow, how did you do that? And he said, whenever the people asked if they could do something, I just said yes. Like, imagine that, right? Hey, boss, can we buy some sofas? Yes. Hey, boss, can we buy, I don't know, a pool table? Yes. Hey, boss, can we put the chairs together? Yes. Hey, boss, can we learn about this new Amazon, server thing? Yes. He just said yes all the time. Now, they make some mistakes, but the point is now they're experimenting, right? Some experiments go right, some go wrong. He just said yes. And he created then a culture of people just always going out and looking and looking and looking. I knew another person, a smaller company, and he had very good guest leadership, a lot of responsibility by the employees. And I asked him, how did you do that? And he said, I just made sure I wasn't there. It was very strange. It's like, just say yes. But when he came back and the people had done things, all he could say was, thank you. That's right. So then the people start doing things, right? So really it's just giving little micro permissions. So the people go, oh, I could try that. Oh, I could try this. Oh, I could try that, right? Some are right, some are wrong. Let me see. And what was I may need Konstantin or somebody to help me with the second part of the question.
The second part of the question was about your experience with continuous learning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's your favorite practice and so on?
Oh, I'm afraid I'm old school. I like to talk to other people. And I miss it. The moment I stopped working in a team and became a solo consultant, my learning dropped way down. Even recently, I was just visiting with somebody at a conference, and they said, here, you do this. I go, oh, really? But how do you do that? And he goes, oh, you do this. I go, oh, thank you. I was needing that, right? So it was about AI and ChatGPT, and I couldn't do something, and he was doing something with videos, and he showed me these tools, and I went, wow. So now I have specific things to try on ChatGPT. What I'm going to do there for you people who are asking about AI, it's very good at giving opinions, and it's very good at running summaries. So don't ask it for facts. And just like I know how to use Excel, right? It's my left hand. I just have to start asking ChatGPT all the questions, make it draw drawings, just make it do things. It doesn't matter what, little play things. I've had it write code for me. I'm going to have it start drawing illustrations for me. Just make it like every day. Just do anything of no consequence until I learn what I can do, can't do, how to phrase it. So that's what I'm going to do with the AI. All right, what's the next question, Konstantin?
Okay, we can take the next question from online questions, actually. here is one. Thank you for the amazing session. What would be the one single advice for getting team from absolute demotivation to gaining trust and bringing results? Well, this is not an easy.
Well, you know, I mean, there's some things that are really bad. And I'll tell you stories because I operate out of stories all the time. The thing is, there's a key word called small wins, W-I-N-S, a small win. You want to arrange for lots of small wins. If you make the goal too big, you know, then the people go, yeah, we can't do that. But if you give you something and they win, they go, oh, we can do that. Give them something small. And I'll just tell you a story. I was in a place and I talked to the most advanced team there, and we had a great conversation. And then they gave me the worst team to talk to. And they said, well, we really would like to learn something about this new technology or something, but our product manager won't let us. They always say time. Well, the product manager was in the room, and she said, actually, if it will make you happier, I'm happy to make time on the schedule for you to do that. So they had actually misunderstood her reaction and her priorities. She actually cared more that they became a motivated team, and that motivation would help them become a better functioning team and a faster team. So she explicitly gave permission. So those are the two things. Let's look at some more questions. What have you got? Another one online there?
I guess we can ask audience again. Yeah. I have 2 hands already. Yep.
Hello, my name is Nicholas. You said something about ChatGPT. What do you think? Can AI change agile products?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just went to a recent workshop in which one person, very famous, knowledgeable person, said AI is a hoax. Like, don't pay it any attention. And the other people were actually using it in really remarkable ways. So I view it kind of like the new Excel spreadsheet. I'm writing a book on hexagonal architecture. I don't write that much code anymore. So I tried, I heard it was possible. So I wrote some Ruby code. I'm a Ruby programmer. And it was, more or less correct, And I gave it to ChatGPT, even ChatGPT-3. And I just said, does this code adhere to current coding standards? And it said, no, here. And it said, by the way, you have a bug here. Fix it, right? So I could read the code. And so I got that and I said, okay, thank you. And I put it in the book. And then I took that code and I said, can you please rewrite this in Java now? And gave it to me in Java. And I sent it to my Java friends to check it was all right. So my friends, some of my friends who are really advanced software programmers, just use this. Like I said, it's just like their left hand, right? It doesn't do magic, right? They give it instructions on what they want. And then they look at the result and then they reply and they tune it. And this is what the guy at the workshop I was at last week did. He showed how people who were not in computer science, who were scientists like biologists or sociologists or people just taking votes for things in their departments, how they would iterate to a solution that worked. So for one, they had faculty, they had, 20 people, and they were trying to make work groups and teams, and they had constraints about specialties and times and who hated each other and who loved each other and whatever else. And he said, make me a team structure and agenda. And it did that. And they said, well, that one's not right because we have this conflict here. Can you get rid of the conflict? So it regenerated it. And so, well, that one's not right because there's this other factor I didn't mention, right? So he added the factors in one at a time. And after about 4 or 5 tries, it came up with a scheduling a package that met all of his constraints. So that was interesting because it was the first time I've seen someone use iterative natural language to add constraints and get a solution. So we have that, and we have my friends, some friends in France, and they just use this to generate lots of boilerplate code. If they know what the code kind of has to do, they give it enough either code or enough instructions, you can actually ask ChatGPT to generate a hexagonal architecture for you. Now you have to tell it what are the ports, you have to tell it, what are the adapters, primary actors, functions. You have to give it the information, but it actually is good enough. It will generate. Then you can say, oh, make me the test cases for that, right? So it'll generate the test cases, it'll generate the tests, it'll generate the code. So yeah, this is real. And when spreadsheets first came out in the 90s, people just did the most amazing things with them, and they still do. So it just becomes part of your tool set, right? So it will replace some people, but you just have to make it part of your tool set. Yep, very good. We have a few more minutes, if I understand. So let's see what's next.
We have like 5 more minutes, I think. So
Yeah, we have one question here.
Hello, my name is Nino. I'm a general manager from Hobby Studio. First of all, thank you for such insightful presentation and your time. So over the years, I'm sure you've heard many stories. So I'm curious to know, what do you find the most common mistakes of organizations who are just starting to implement Agile methodology, as well as biggest mistakes from your perspective?
Wow. Let me see. I'll pick 2 of the biggest mistakes that I see people making, and I don't know in which order to give them to you. The first one was already described in 2004 by the owner of a company, and he said, we thought that it was a matter of just putting team changes on a schedule, like a Gantt chart. We would just roll out the new Agile ways of doing things. He said we thought we would transition the teams. So, but we learned you can't do that because there's so much attitude involved, so many habits. You actually have to transform people. You have to change the way they talk. You have to change the rewards, the way they think about rewards. Transforming people cannot be put on a Gantt chart. You can't just put that on a calendar. Okay, well, we'll transform, Konstantin, this month and somebody else next month. No, that's not the way it works. So he said, your first thing is in your mindset, you have to change. We are not transitioning teams. We are transforming people, and you can't put that on a schedule. That's a long job. I regularly go to big companies and they say, we've been doing this for 1.5 years and it hasn't succeeded. And I go, it's a 10-year job. You won't know anything till after 3 years. So you get your first information after 1.5 years, not 1 year, 1.5 years. You get your second information after 3 years, right? So the first thing is to change the expectations as to how fast this goes. The second mistake that people, especially in the executive layers, and I showed that slide, they have a belief that installing a process, whether it's Scrum or SAFe or Kanban or something like that, that installing a process will do the job. And that's a structural change. And that doesn't change anyone's attitude. So the second mistake is believing that installing a process will change people's behaviors, and it doesn't. So those are the 2 biggest mistakes. Let's see.
And I think we can take the last question, right?
Perfect.
If someone from the audience, from the physical audience, has any more questions?
Still here?
Okay, if not, we can also ask from online questions. Okay.
Hello, thank you so much. One tricky question, how to handle resistance in Agile?
Yeah, that's good. Really good question. I tend to be somebody who's pretty easy to talk to. And I've had people who really hated Agile and they were arguing with me. And one of them said, very high level person goes, you're the only person in Agile that I can actually talk with, because I didn't fight them. If they said something that's correct and negative about Agile, I agree with them. I don't try to pretend that Agile fixes everything. I have an exercise. Here's a fun exercise for you guys to do. Hey, Konstantin, we're watching you. Konstantin, we're watching you. Yalan. If somebody says, so the exercise that we do is this: why is Agile less efficient than waterfall? People go crazy with that question because they can't believe there's any way in which Agile is inferior in any way to waterfall. So I encourage you to take on that question. It's a very, very tough question. So what I do is I just go, Agile's good at this and it's bad at that. That's the first thing I do. I agree with anything they say that's correct. I just agree with them. The second thing is I don't try to be binary about it. It's not like right and wrong, black and white. Everything is on a gray scale. So for instance, they say, we can't do rework. And I say, okay, you don't like to do rework. But have you ever done rework? Well, yes, of course. Well, why was it okay there? What were the characteristics of that situation that made that okay? And then they talk about that, and that puts them on a gradient. And maybe they're like at a 3 on the gradient, and I'm like on an 8. But now we can talk about the gradient, right? And I don't know if I'm seeing you guys on my screen. Are you projecting yourselves, or what are you projecting? Again, I'll stop in a moment. I just want to.
Camera started turning around, but I think it's
okay.
It's the same view.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very good. Yeah. So those are the two things. Like if they say something correct, don't make them wrong. They're right. Right. Just accept that. And then ask, okay, well, if that's right, why do I still like to do this better? Right. And then the second thing, put it on a gradient so you don't fight with them directly and say, oh, so you're there, you don't like rework here, but you did it there, right? How about incremental development? Can we do phases? Can we do annual phases? Okay, we can do an annual. Could you do 6 months? Can you do 3 months? Can you do, yeah. And so you have a difference of scale. Those are the two things that I do that get me past a lot of objections. All right, I think we're at the end now.
Yep, this time at least. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you here on site someday. And we are here to attend that session for sure.